This is our sewing demonstration. The sewing frame will be in this position. You'll be sitting behind it with the platform facing away from you. I'm using yellow cords, so it'll be easier to see the black thread while I'm sewing against the yellow cords. You'll have flax cords. You want to put your book section, the book signature, on a platform. So get a box or a book, just so it's raised a little bit. The signatures are pre-marked. There'll be a T, well, I'll only pre-mark one. There'll be a T on the top. T means top. And then you'll have 5 lines as well. The 3 lines in the middle will correspond to the 3 cords. They have a Coptic or Kettle stitch mark to the left and a Coptic or Kettle stitch mark to the right. What I'm going to do is turn this around so that you can see how the sewing goes on the back side. And then after I demonstrate that to you, I'll turn it around again so you see how the sewing is on the inside of the book section. Okay, so as I mentioned before, I turned the sewing frame around so it'll be easier for you to see what's happening on the back side. And then when I'm done demonstrating this, I'll turn it around again so you can see what's going to be happening on the inside. I pre-punched holes in my the fold of my signature, and you can do the same thing too if you want to make it go easier. You want to open up the book section so it's open to the center. You're going to take your needle and you're going to put it in to the first Coptic stitch mark at the far left. Pull the needle through and pull the thread through, but not all the way. You're going to want to leave some thread about 2 or 3 inches so that when you sew the second section, you can tie the second section to the first one. So leave about that much dangling. Now from the inside, I'm going to go out of the signature. And pull the thread through, but don't lose that tail. You're going to need that after you sew the second section. So I went out on the right hand side of the cord. Now I'm going to go back, I'm going to wrap around the cord by going on the left and pull the needle through. And that's going to attach the cord to the back of the signature. I'm going to do the same thing with the second and third cords. I'm going to go out on the right and come back in on the left. You don't have to go through the same hole every time. As long as you get close to the hole, I should say, as long as you get close to the cord, that's what you need to do. Now I'm going to go out and around the third cord. And then to finish off this section, I'm going to come out at the bottom or right hand Coptic stitch mark. Okay, and then whenever I finish the first section, I always pull on the right and the left to make sure the thread is nice and tight. So now I'm going to pause and I'm going to turn this sewing frame around so you can see what the sewing looks like on the inside. So now we're going to sew the second signature. This is what the sewing looks like on the inside. You can see the line of thread in there. Now I'm going to close this one down and you put the second signature square to the first one. You may notice what I try to do is keep my left hand inside at all times, and my right hand on the outside. The left hand is going to hold the paper in place so it doesn't move around on you, and it also will catch the needle when it comes inside the fold. And again, this is how the sewing frame will be set up when you're actually sewing, with the platform facing away from you. Now to start the second section, I'm going to come in right above that right hand Coptic stitch mark into the fold of the second section. I'm going to pull the needle through. Now I'm sewing left, so I'm going to come out on the left hand side of the cord. I've been doing this a long time, so I usually get pretty close. You can see, even though I can't see what's on the inside, you can see I got very close. You may not be able to do that the first time you do this. You may want to stand up if you need to, in order to see where you want to come out of the second section. So I come on the left hand side of the cord. Now I'm going to wrap around to the right by getting right next to the cord. If you're within an eighth of an inch or so of the cord, then you're good. Now I'm going to do the second cord, the middle one. And so you can see I'm right next to it again. I had to poke around a little bit. Sometimes you have to poke it 2 or 3 times in order to get right next to the cord. So now I'm going to wrap around to the right. So this is the rule of thumb. When you're sewing right, you come out right and you go in left. When you're sewing left, you come out left and you go in right. Right, right, left, left. And that's the third cord. Come out on the left and go back in on the right. And then what I'm going to do when I come out, I'm going to come out, this is where the bottom, the first Coptic stitch mark was, where I've got to put the cord in, the thread in. So I'm going to come out right above that on this second one. Pull the thread tight. And then what I like to do is pull both threads together to the left, and then I just make a square knot, regular knot. So you can see better what I'm doing to finish off sections 1 and 2. I pull both threads together like this, and then I just make a regular knot, tying the short piece to the thread I'm sewing with. 1, 2, and then you can just take your scissors and you can cut it down about 1/4 of an inch or so. So now we're going to sew section 3 to 2 and 1, and again I'm going to be sewing right to left, so I'm going to come out right and then wrap around and go to the left. Again, remember, this is turned around backwards so you can see what's happening on the back side. So again, you always start above the Coptic stitch mark. Now I'm going to come out of the right side of the cord. Since I'm sewing right, I'm coming out on the right side. And I'm going to go back in on the left side. Do the same thing for the middle one. Make sure you keep your sections square so that your book isn't uneven when you finish sewing. You want to pull the thread tight. Usually the thread does break. Every now and then it breaks, but that's rare. We're working with linen thread, by the way, Irish linen thread. Now I'm coming on the right side of the third cord and go back in on the left side. Now I'm going to come out of the bottom, the right hand Coptic stitch mark. And after I come out, we'll pause and I'll show you how we do the Coptic, also known as the Kettle stitch. So now I'm going to show you the Coptic or kettle stitch. The needle always goes in between the two sections below. So since I'm coming out of the third section, I'm going to go in between sections 1 and 2. The needle goes behind the sewing, the stitch that's there, between the two sections, and then you pull it through. And I usually pull it through until it's about a 1/2 inch diameter. So as soon as it hits my finger, that's just about right. Now what I want to do is go up through that loop I've created. So I take the needle, I'm going to go up through that loop. But while I'm doing that, I want to pinch the book down at the point where the stitch is going to form, because I want the book to be tight at the ends. So I pull it through, and that creates the Coptic or kettle stitch. So when I sew section 4 will sit on top of this. I'll come in above here, sew around the cords like I did before. I'll come out of the top of the book of section 4, and I'll kettle stitch between 3 and 2 in the same way. Thanks for